I'm standing next to a hedgerow restoration project here in the UK. At first glance, it might not look dramatic. It's not a forest, it's not a national park, but what's happening right here is really important. This hedgerow is being brought back to life, and with it, habitats for birds, insects, mammals, and countless other species. Projects like this quietly rebuild ecosystems field by field, mile by mile. Today, I want to show you why hedgerows matter and how these narrow strips of green are actually one of the most powerful agents of conservation here in the United Kingdom. Hedgerows in the UK did not begin as neat field boundaries. Their story starts thousands of years before that. Earlier farmers began clearing woodland in small patches, leaving strips of trees and shrubs behind as natural fences. These living boundaries controlled livestock, marked territories, and protected crops. Many of today's oldest hedgerows still follow these prehistoric field lines. By the medieval period, hedgerows became central to village life. They defined strips of farmland, sheltered livestock, provided firewood, berries, medicine, and timber. Hedgerows were not decorations, they were survival infrastructure. Between the 17th and 19th centuries, Britain underwent massive enclosure. Open common land was divided into privately owned fields. Millions of miles of hedgerow were planted during this period. Much of the hedgerow network we see today was shaped by this transformation. The 20th century brought mechanized farming. Fields grew larger, machinery needed space. Hundreds of thousands of miles of hedgerow were removed to increase efficiency. The ecological cost was enormous. Habitat loss, declining birds, fewer pollinators, broken wildlife corridors. The effect was felt across the United Kingdom. Today, the UK is home to an estimated 500,000 miles of hedgerow. That's enough living boundary to wrap around the earth more than 20 times. But hedgerows aren't just lines on a map. They're made of shrubs, trees, roots, soil, and life. If you gathered all the shrubs and trees from these hedgerows and shaped them into a continuous forest, there would be enough to cover 600 square miles. That's about the same area as Greater London. Imagine a forest the size of London. Now imagine that same forest stretched out to thin ribbons all across the United Kingdom, about 1 to 2 meters wide. That's the hedgerow forest, the hidden forest across the UK. And just like any real forest, the British hedge isn't empty. It's alive. A single hedgerow can support hundreds of species. Birds nest deep within its branches, protected from wind, rain, and predators. Hedgehogs forage along the base. Rabbits, bats trace outlines in the dark. Foxes move quietly amongst the shadowed edges. Animals, both large and small, call the hedge home. In spring, hawthorn and blackthorn explode into bloom, feeding bees, hoverflies, butterflies, and countless pollinators. In the autumn, berries, rose hips, haws, and brambles become lifelines for migrating birds and overwintering wildlife. Beneath the surface, roots stabilize the soil and create shelter for beetles, worms, fungi, and microbes. From the canopy to the leaf litter, the hedgerow functions as a narrow woodland, layered, structured, and incredibly rich. Hedgerows create microclimates that can be cooler, more humid, and less exposed than surrounding farmland. That structural diversity of trees, shrubs, ground flora, and deadwood is what allows many species to coexist in such a narrow space. Hedges don't just provide protection from predators, but they're also corridors for movement. Across much of the UK, natural habitats are fragmented. Woodlands are separated by fields, wetlands divided by roads, and grasslands are isolated by development. For many species, open ground is dangerous, exposed, hostile. Hedgerows solve that problem. They form green corridors, safe passageways that allow wildlife to move across the landscape under cover. A hedgehog can travel between feeding areas without touching bare ground. A dormouse can move from woodland to woodland without crossing open fields. Bats use hedgerows as navigational lines, following them like living runways through the night sky. These narrow strips of vegetation function like biological highways, linking ecosystems together into one connected network. For many animals, movement means survival. The hedge network across the UK allows animals to find food, seek mates, avoid disturbance, and recolonize areas where populations have declined. And as climates continue to change, species must continue to shift their ranges. Without connected landscapes, many simply cannot move fast enough to survive. While hedgerows move wildlife across the land, they also quietly shape the climate beneath our feet. Each trunk, branch, leaf, and root stores carbon, not just above ground, but beneath the soil as well. Meter for meter, a well-managed hedgerow can store carbon at levels comparable to a young woodland. And unlike single-purpose carbon projects, hedgerows do this while feeding pollinators, sheltering wildlife, and protecting farmland. Hedgerows can cool the air during heat waves, they can slow drying winds, they can reduce evaporation. In the winter, they can break storms, and in the summer, they can create shade. These narrow lines of green function as a nationwide climate buffering system, quietly reducing extremes and quietly increasing resilience. Hedges control water. When rainwater falls on open ground, it moves fast. Water rushes across compacted soil, carrying sediment, nutrients, and pollutants into streams and rivers. Hedges change that. Their roots bind soil together, their bases trap sediment, and their structure slows surface runoff. Instead of racing away downstream, water is held, filtered, and allowed to soak into the ground. This simple process reduces erosion, keeps soil fertile, and also lowers flood risk downstream. In a warming world where heavier rains is becoming more common, hedgerows act as a living flood defense, built of roots, stems, and soil. A single hedgerow can intercept thousands of liters of rainwater during a storm event, slowing its journey across the landscape. Hedgerow conservation is a critical need, as hedgerows will only survive if people choose to protect them. Conservation is not just about planting new hedges, but also about protecting and managing current hedges. Cut too hard, cut too often, or removed entirely, and the value that wildlife gains from hedges collapses. But when hedgerows are allowed to grow taller, wider, and more structurally diverse, they become richer habitats year by year. This means trimming on longer cycles, allowing some trees to mature, and leaving dead wood where it stands is safe and productive for hedges. Good hedgerow management turns a simple boundary into a functional ecosystem. Across the UK, farmers, landowners, volunteers, and conservation groups are restoring lost hedgerows, replanting native species like hawthorn, blackthorn, hazel, field maple, and dogrose. Each new hedge or hedge conservation project becomes a future corridor, a future carbon store, or a future home for wildlife. When efforts are made to protect hedgerows, those efforts aren't just saving lines of shrubs, they're protecting the entire ecosystem, a living network that quietly holds the countryside together. Across the United Kingdom, there's a forest many people never walk into, not because it doesn't exist, but because it's not in one place. It stretches along lines between fields, beside rivers, and along villages. It shelters wildlife, stores carbon, slows floods, feeds pollinators, and connects ecosystems. It's not made of towering trees alone, it's made of millions of living lines, hedgerows. And when we choose to protect them, we restore them, we let them grow, and they aren't just conserving the past, they're conserving the future. This is Dr. Mac Outside. Thanks for exploring this hidden forest with me, and if you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe. I love going to wonderful places, and I love to have you along with me. And the next time you see a hedgerow, tip your hat, give a nod to the hardest working forest in the United Kingdom.